Right, so this is part 3 of this new rant series that I'm doing, where I basically rant about things that I'm not happy about in the UFC or the MMA world. Yesterday, rant part 2 was about Cyril Gane and how he's gonna have to fight all the tough contenders. It was about the UFC having an issue where they tend to like hype up prospects that for no reason. For example, they'll hype up Paddy because of how well he can talk, or they'll hype up Raul Rosas Jr. because of his age, but they never hype people up because of talent, or if they do, they need to do it more. And then I talked about how the flyweight division is dead. I'm going to go straight into rant number 3 today, and it's going to be the BMF belt. Now, the BMF belt, I think we can all agree, and I don't think I'm alone in this, it is one of the most ridiculous things in UFC. It's the stupidest thing in the UFC since Luke Rockhold and Tito Ortiz. I don't understand the concept of it. They invented it in 2019 for Masvidal versus Nate Diaz, which at first seemed kind of like a fun concept, but in reality, it's just a belt for the people that aren't good enough to win an I can't speak, man. It's a belt for the people that aren't good enough to win a proper champion, like for an actual belt for their weight class. On top of that, it's just really confusing. Like when you're trying to explain to new MMA fans about the belt system, and then they go and find out what the BMF belt is, it's just confusing. And there's just no need for it, man. Like, first of all, it's only in one weight class as well. It's not like there's a BMF belt in every weight class. It's only one weight class, which is, well, it's been welterweight and lightweight so far. Meaning it, what if there's like a BMF in middleweight and there was one in bantamweight? What happens then? Like, so it's just a BMF for one division, which I'm not a fan of. And on top of that, Masvidal won the BMF belt and never defended it. After winning the BMF belt, he gets a decision loss to Usman. Then he gets knocked out cold by Usman. Then he gets dominated by Colby and then Gilbert Burns. Not one of those fights were for the BMF belt, so it obviously wasn't a serious concept. And then on top of that, they're bringing it back for UFC 291, Poirier versus Gaethje. Both of the fighters have stated that they don't give a fuck about the belt. Neither of them care about the belt. I don't know why it's on the line. Neither of them care about it. Dana's even called it ridiculous in the past. I don't understand why the BMF belt is on the line. It's just confusing. No one really likes it. I think the only reason they've brought the BMF belt back is because UFC 291 has no title fights. So they want to kind of create more hype around the main event by putting some title on the mix. I don't know why this one's got the BMF belt. It could have just been for Michael Chandler versus Gaethje. It could have been Chandler versus Poirier. It's kind of like they just randomly selected this fight to be the BMF belt. But I can guarantee whoever wins it isn't going to defend it. Like Poirier will probably beat Gaethje to get the belt. And then he'll fight Islam Makhachev or something, and then Makhachev will beat Poirier, and then Makhachev's not going to be the BMF belt because he isn't. I just don't like the concept of it. I think it's a waste of time, and I think it's confusing for new MMA fans. Next thing I'm going to rant about is the light heavyweight belt. Now, the light heavyweight division right now is in a really bad state since John Jones left. The belt just keeps switching hands. That's my issue. The light heavyweight belt, I might be wrong, but I think since 2021, it's had 5 different title holders since 2021. Bantamweight have had, I believe, 2. It's been Sterling and Yan. Featherweight has had 1. Welterweight has had 2. Middleweight has had 2. And then light heavyweight has had 5. It was Jan Blachowicz. Then it was Glover. Then it was Yuri. Then it was Jamal Hill. No, then it was Glover. No, then it was Jamal Hill. Okay, it's 4. I think I mistook it. It was 4. But I can guarantee Yuri Prohaska's going to go and beat Jamal Hill again to make it 5. It just keeps passing hands. And the thing is, it's probably going to keep getting more and more. I bet the belt's going to keep getting passed around. Yuri will beat Hill. Then Ankalaev will beat Yuri Prohaska to make it 6. And then we've got all the people like Johnny Walker coming up. We've got Ryan Spann. I'm not going to count Ryan Spann. We've got Nikita Krylov. There's just so many belts. There's just so many it's just getting passed around too much. It's such an inconsistent division. Every other weight class has 1 or 2 changes, maybe 3. This one's going to have 4, and I can guarantee it's not just going to stay at 4. We need one dominant champion at least. People complain for divisions like featherweight with Alexander Volkanovski, and then when Israel Adesanya was on his run, that it's quite boring to have one champion. I disagree. I'd rather have one champion that's kind of just beating everyone than having every single contender touch the belt and then lose it immediately. That'd just be really boring for me. I just want there to be one champion. I know in the past they've had John Jones, who was the most dominant champion in the world. So it's kind of like ironic that I'm saying this about the light heavyweight division. But in its current state, we need just a champion. It's very messy at the moment. It's like there needs to be just one. There needs to be just one person who holds it. Even if it's just one defense. I wouldn't even mind if Jamal Hill defends it once against Prohaska. Or Prohaska beats Hill to make it 5. And then Prohaska defends it. I don't mind. It's just he's losing. I don't know, man. It's just I want it to be just one champion. But yeah, that's just my issue. And there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of prospects as well as like heavyweight. There's like 3 people who haven't even come close to fighting for the belt yet. So yeah, and it's really weird as well. Jamal Hill and Nikita Krylov, one's the champion and one's a contender. Both of them are doing pretty well right now, and the only people they've lost to recently is Paul Craig, which is quite embarrassing, but that's my rant about light heavyweight division. I just want there to be someone who keeps the belt and stops passing it around like a hot, like, just someone, please. Just be the champion and defend it. So the final rant I've got for this episode is about Francis Ngannou and the fact that he's just thrown his entire career away. So he was the heavyweight champion of the world, and previous to the Cyril Gane fight, he was hyped as this massive... He was becoming popular because of his knockout power. He had crazy knockout power. It wasn't even just the UFC that was like... The UFC fan base that was kind of noticing him. He was kind of becoming like worldwide popular. A lot of people knew the name of Francis Ngannou. But then he goes on to fight Cyril Gane, and he out-wrestled him for a couple of rounds. I know he was kind of injured on the knee, so I'm not going to, blame him too much. And then he decides to leave the UFC, which was the worst decision of his career. The problem with Francis Ngannou is that he thinks he's a lot bigger than he actually is. And not bigger like physically. He thinks he's like more popular and more worth money than he actually is. He doesn't fight. He fought once a year as the heavyweight champ. He fought once in 2021 and once in 2022. And he's now signed to the PFL. He could have had a big fight with Jones. That would have been a huge fight. And then he leaves the UFC. And I'm not saying it's Ngannou's fault. Maybe Jones, because, coincidentally, the second Ngannou leaves the UFC, Jones joins again. But I don't know, man. Leaving the UFC, he's just thrown his career away. Because now he's in PFL. I don't doubt he's probably getting paid more. He's probably getting paid more in PFL than he was in the UFC. But his legacy's gone. The heavyweight's tarnished now. What he's fighting random... Who is he going to be fighting in PFL? PFL is like just above Cage Warriors. Everyone knows what's going to happen. And Ngannou's going to sleep his opponents. This has the same energy as Floyd Mayweather going and doing like exhibition boxing matches after his career's over. Or, Tyson Fury fighting... What's his name? That guy Tyson Fury's most recent fight, that old guy, Derek Chisora. It's like doing an exhibition match after your career's over, but his career isn't over, it's in his prime. He's just wasted the entire year of 2022 because he fought once. We're in the middle of 2023, he hasn't even got a fight booked. His career's been thrown away. His legacy's trash. No one cares about him anymore. He's now the history. He's now past. He's just thrown his career away. He could have been a huge star. If he'd have gone out there and maybe been a little bit more active at heavyweight, and then imagine him versus Jones, and he's the guy to knock out Jones. I still think out of every heavyweight, he is the toughest fight for Jones. And I know he could still join the UFC and beat Jones there, but it's just unlikely. Dana said he's never going to do it again, but I guess Dana isn't really trustworthy. But it's just sad how he's thrown his entire career away just for some money. And yeah, that shows you what having a big ego can do to you. We just lost Francis Ngannou, no longer a star.